Looking ahead, Ranger Suarez, as we wrap up our final three here. Ranger Suarez, another one that for the Phillies is the number 3, but for many would be their number 1, without a doubt. 19 games started, 114 innings pitched. He's 10-4 in the season with a 2.76 ERA. He's got a 1.044 WHIP, 112 Ks, 4.3 Ks per walk. He's one of 10 pitchers that's had a complete game shutout. 3 of them are Phillies, of course, and his opponents are slashing a 219, 273, 340 split. Now, for Ranger Suarez, I'm going to give him an A. I really am struggling to give anybody A+ because I just feel like nobody's been perfect. But I'm going to give him an A for the fact that he's 1,000% exceeded expectations. His injury in his back injury that he just recently, we learned about, I should say, is no surprise. As we talked about with Spencer, Ranger is also already in a spot now where he has pitched more innings now at July, whatever the date is, midway point of July, than he's pitched in pretty much every season of his career except for like 2, excuse me. He has not pitched more than 114 innings in seasons outside of 2022 and 2023. And you want to know how many innings he pitched in those seasons? 125 and 155. He is already right now on schedule to pass his career high of innings pitched, and it is still only the halfway point of the season. Ranger has been phenomenal, and I expected him to have, at some point, a comeback to human moment where it would catch up to him how many innings he's pitched, catch up to him how he's just been unhittable, and how teams have been game planning now to figure out how can we get after Ranger Suarez. Obviously, we've seen a dip, but I know it's because of the back injury. I'm going to give him an A. I would give him an A+, but again, I'm trying not to say anybody's perfect. There's always room for improvement, but Ranger doesn't have much room for improvement. To me, it's just stay healthy, and Ranger Suarez is going to be lights out.
Yeah, I agree. I was just with you, Renee, and wanting to give him an A+, but because of his last couple starts. But again, you probably attest that to his injury. You hope it's just the injury, and he's just not just coming back to earth on the surface. But just with this rotation, you have to have a consummate lefty. You know, I'm a lefty too myself, but anyway, but you have to have a consummate lefty, a dominant lefty on any staff if you're going to win a World Series. And I think Ranger is that guy. He can continue to be that guy. And, you know, there were some questions about Suarez coming into the season, sort of like Sanchez, but we knew Suarez had more of a pedigree than Sanchez, and he's just evolved as a pitcher as well. I mean, he has more experience, but you know, he has become that pro too, and he's become that 1, 2, 3 guy that you can rely on, along with Wheeler and along with Nola.
Yeah, I'm giving Ranger an A. And I think, you know, obviously the back injury is recent, but I think 2 other things that stand out to me with this recent like blip on the radar for Ranger. Number 1, I don't think we put too much stock into how much value it was for Ranger to have his family here, but also how much pressure that has probably put on him to want to perform for his wife and his kids, knowing that they're going to be at Citizens Bank Park as much as possible, being this is the first time that they've seen him pitch professionally. I think that's a huge thing for somebody like Ranger, who is still so young in his major league career and wants to show to his family, like, hey, this is how I'm providing for us, and this is what I do. I want to be at the best possible state that I can. And I think that's a lot of pressure. And then the kind of fall has happened since JT Realmuto's injury happened. And I don't think we can overstate how valuable JT is to this team. And I think JT is so valuable to somebody like Ranger, where he's really the only catcher that he knows. Sure, Garrett Stubbs has been there, but you know, Garrett Stubbs is a great backup catcher. He's a great defensive game calling catcher, but JT kind of knows Ranger's tendencies, knows where he wants pitches. And that's really when we started to kind of see the issues happen with Rangers, when JT goes out and now you're mixing in 2 different catchers that Ranger's not necessarily familiar with. I think that has to play a factor into it as well. But Ranger's been phenomenal. I think, you know, to have him as your number 3 starter is just as crazy as Christopher Sanchez being your number 4. So Ranger gets an A from me for sure.
And you're talking about one of the best veterans, period, but one of the best catchers in the game in JT. So that's a really good point, actually. Tyler, what's your grade?
Yeah, he gets an A- for me, and I think I'm not going to allow those last couple of starts to mar him any kind of slump any further than what it is. I think a dead arm period. I think the back tightness doesn't help. And, like you talked about, it's a guy who's getting closer and closer to, shattering his innings cap for his career. The one thing I will say I think teams have adjusted to Ranger a little bit on is they're jumping on him first pitch a lot more frequently than they were in the first couple months of the year. If you get behind on Ranger Suarez, he is such a tough battle because he does throw 5 pitches. He has 5 pitches in which he's thrown at least 12.5% of the time. The sinker, the curveball, the four seam, the changeup, the cutter, they all work in kind of continuity with each other because he doesn't have a blow you away fastball and he doesn't have the devastating wipeout, curveball or slider or whatever the case may be. He is an efficient, effective pitcher who just knows how to get outs. But I think he can be gotten on the first couple of pitches of the at-bat because he pounds the strike zone so effectively. His walk rates are at career low. He's throwing a ton of strikes. And for me, I think he's going to have to learn, once again, kind of how to adjust to that adjustment and pitch backwards a little bit. A little more breaking balls to start at bats, maybe even a little bit less strikes, if that makes any sense, which is just silly to say. But I don't have any concerns past, the back tightened up. I think he's in a little bit of a dead arm period. I think this rest is good for him.